This week in Mel's Mech Shop, Mel's making some breachable Orky town terrain. Last week, Mel was working on the barricades. He could see them being tested out by those goth boys for a commission build, believe it or not. This week, it's time for some bigger and better buildings. So he started off by looting this big cardboard tube thingy. Something about promoting online safety, but Mel's biggest priority is Orkoid safety. So it seemed only fitting he should use it in one of his buildings. He started out by cutting out the base, then cutting a circle of cardboard and sticking some of that lovely builder's scrim tape on it. Trimmed off the excess, then hot glued it into position. Thought this would make a lovely watchtower thingy. He then built up the frame of the building using foam board, cardboard tubes and bits of corrugated card. A few plastic tubes, cocktail sticks and wooden cake makers dowels were used as supports and struts throughout the building. He loved the look of this end bit, the sort of garagey thing on the end of the building, but it wasn't really playable, so he made the tin roof removable. Pretty and practical, a bit like Mel really. Lovely. So with the basic skeleton of the build done, it was then just time to Orky it up, adding some dags, some wooden coffee stirrer braces, loads of lovely corrugated cardboard, a few ladders made out of chicken wire and some scrim tape flooring. And a huge Orky skull glyph made out of plastic card. Then it was just a quick prime with this high coat matte black spray paint. Whilst the primer was drying on this first building, he set about making a second in much the same way, using foam board as a core and then cover it in corrugated card and loads of details on plastic card. He also added a couple of these lovely resin fan grates. With both the buildings built and primed, it was then time to get the grots on the job of painting them up. First up was a quick coat of this Rust-Oleum metallic silver all over. Then it was some heavily watered down Vallejo Model Air Rust, probably one of Mel's favourite paints when it comes to painting up terrain. It's a toss up between that and Citadel's Typhus Corrosion. And make sure you keep stum about the makeup brush. Mrs Mel don't need to know about that. Just between me and you, right? Just kind of stippled it on all over really, trying to focus on the edges of each of the panels. After all, we want it to look corroded and rusted. Orcs ain't going to be using no brand new metal pieces, are they? Especially as this one's being shipped out to another war boss. Mel's obviously going to keep the shiniest bits for himself, isn't he? With the rusty metallics down on both of the buildings, it was then time to add some colour. Started off with some Evil Sun Scarlet, stippled straight from the pot with a wet brush. Not going for full coverage here on each of the panels, we'll leave some gaps. We can fill it in with some corrosion and rust and general crud from battle. Orky building regs aren't really up to much, so we'll just yank that bit off. Same process as before, but this time with Avalanche Sunset. Again, Not going for full coverage here, but these three colours from Citadel really seem to cover pretty damn well. With the Avalanche Sunset all stippled on, it was then a few panels picked out with Longthorn Blue. With the three base colours all down, it was then time to go over the patches with some Typhus Corrosion. My god, this paint and half gives you some awesome effects, but it also knackers your brushes well quick, so make sure you use an old beater brush when you're doing this step. Just kind of stippled this on the top edges, around the parts where two panels meet, and also on the bare bits of metal where there's no other colours. It's also a good opportunity to fix up any slip-ups that them little grots might have made. Also went round and picked out a few of the metallic parts and that massive Orky skull glyph with some of this Citadel colour contrast skeleton horde. Mel's found that this skeleton horde's a great way to make your metallics look a bit old and cruddy. It also works pretty well to give you a sort of streaking, grimy look. So he also added some to the bottom of some of the panels and on the roof parts to make it look like the water had collected and got all grimy and horrible. So with the skeleton horde all added, it was just then time for some weathering powders in certain areas. A bit of Forge World aged rust powder around the metallic pipes and the fan grates. Then just a little dusting of this Vallejo natural umber just around the bottom of the building to tighten the board a bit. A quick sponge paint of Orphan Grey on the skull glyphs, and that's it. Orky breachable buildings done. Probably have to rid it up with a bit of matte varnish, but need to clean out my zogging airbrush first. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I hope you liked the video and find it useful when you come to make your own Orky buildings. If you did, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more build videos. Stay safe, guys, keep on mecking, and catch you on the next one.